Hi art friends, welcome to week 9 of art. I'm going to give you an extra week to complete this lesson so everyone can get caught up before the first quarter ends. This lesson will be the first graded lesson of the second quarter, so make sure to turn it in on time. If you're coming back to school, you do not need to complete this lesson. If you're staying virtual at home, you need to complete this lesson and upload it to Artsonia. Today, we're going to be looking at some landscapes and focusing on the elements of space, line, color, and shape. Landscapes are the depiction of natural scenery in art. Landscape paintings may capture mountains, valleys, bodies of water, fields, forests, and coasts, and may or may not include man-made structures as well as people. Landscapes have three parts: a foreground, or what's closest to the viewer, a middle ground, and a background. Using these three parts in your landscape will show depth or 3D space in your work. Landscapes also have horizon lines. A horizon line is the line where the sky meets the ground. In the week 9 and 10 modules, I have some examples for you to look at to get ideas for your landscape. You could also do a search on the internet. Look up landscape paintings or landscape photography. Or maybe you'd like to draw somewhere that you've been on vacation. Maybe you want to draw a landscape with mountains. Maybe a desert landscape. Maybe you'd like to draw rolling hills. Maybe you want to include a river, ocean, or lake in your landscape. Perhaps you'd like to include some trees in your artwork. Do your own research and choose your own landscape to draw. Then think about what kinds of lines you see in that landscape. For this lesson, you will need your sketchbook or a piece of white paper, a pencil and eraser, and colored markers. That's it. Here's a really simple landscape. I'll use this photograph as the inspiration for my own landscape drawing. What kinds of lines do you see? If you were going to draw this, what kinds of lines would you use? The foreground is what's closest to the viewer. The middle ground is, well, here, in the middle. And the background is off in the distance. That's this hill here. I'll start by drawing a curved line in the foreground. I'm going to draw super light with my pencil. Remember, draw light till you get it right. The middle ground is this little hill, and the background is this tall curved hill. Now I'll add trees. I'm going to change the shape of the trees to be a little taller and more thin than they are in the photograph. You can change the shape of anything you want in your landscape and combine characteristics to make your drawing more interesting to you. Usually, when working with 3D space, objects appear to be larger the closer they are to the viewer. When objects are further in the distance, they look like they're smaller. That doesn't mean they actually are smaller or they shrink, they're just further away. That's why I made the trees in the middle ground and background smaller than these trees in the foreground. I think I'll add some clouds and a sun just for interest. If you draw a sun, please don't draw it in the corner of your paper. Look outside. There's no corners in our world. No corner suns. Make your drawing more interesting by putting your sun peeking out from behind the clouds, or maybe you could draw a setting sun. At first I thought I'd draw rays coming from the sun and going behind the clouds, but then I changed my mind. Good thing I used pencil and drew lightly. So now what I'm going to do is outline the basic parts of my landscape with the colors I want to use later. I'll use this green for the foreground. Then I'll use this lighter green for the middle ground. Same curved lines. Now I'll use this minty green for the background. The sun will be yellow, and I'll outline the clouds with blue. I'll make the trunks of my trees brown, of course, and then different greens to outline the leaves of the trees. Now I'm ready to add the lines to the landscape. Starting with my trees, I'm using greens to follow that wavy line. I'm using a teal color to follow the curved hill in the foreground, just repeating the same line over and over. You can change colors if you'd like to as well. I'll use that same green in the middle ground. In the background, I'm making sure to make my lines go behind the trees. We are showing overlapping and using the element of space. I'm adding yellow curved lines to my sun, and I'll add a little orange as well. I want to make a colorful sky that goes right behind my clouds. I'm using a red violet and curving the lines right around the sun. I made them look like they're going behind the clouds by using overlapping. Same with the trees. Just stop the line when you run into something that's already there. The last thing I need to do is make some curvy organic lines inside the clouds. Remember, your art does not have to look just like mine. I promise, I'll love your artwork even more than I already do if it looks completely different than mine. Make it yours. Make it unique. Here's another example I did while looking at the landscape idea sheet that are included in the week's 9 and 10 module. I started with a mountain in the foreground by drawing a wavy line. Then I drew a tree using a zigzag-ish line. From the right side, I made another mountainside and added a smaller tree to make it look like it was further away. Here's a wavy line for the lake in the distance, some rolling hills, and mountains way off in the distance. I added some clouds and a setting sun. This time I did decide to add some rays on the sun that go right behind everything. I outlined the mountains with purple, the cloud with blue, the sun and rays with orange, the foreground with gray, the middle ground with brown, and of course I used green for the trees. I used green for the hills, and then blue for the water. Once you get your basic landscape drawn and outlined, you can go back to your original colors and just add lines following the original one. Repeating the mountain lines was fun. I used a combination of pink, red, and yellow for the sun. When your landscape is complete, we should be able to see a few things. First, you should have a foreground, middle ground, and background. You should also have a horizon line. Remember, that's the line that's the furthest away from us. It's the line that connects the sky to the ground. Your artwork should show space through overlapping and making objects smaller the further they are away in the distance. Your landscape should be made up of many different kinds of lines that repeat to fill in the whole space. When you're finished, photograph your artwork and upload it to Artsonia in the gallery called Line Landscapes. I hope you enjoyed this lesson on landscapes. Next time you're outside, look at the landscape around you. What kinds of lines would you use to draw what you see? Notice what objects are in the foreground, middle ground, and background. What do you see? Go draw it. I miss you, art friends. I hope you enjoy making art with me while we're apart. Stay tuned for our next art lesson. Bye!